podcast. Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. So today we're adding a twist. Yes, it's been a while since I've been adding twist in everything I do. So today is a twist because I recorded something earlier with somebody that I really found inspiring, really driven by what she's doing. And I don't know, I couldn't help myself, but we turned a conversation to a podcast actually. So I I'm more than happy to have interview, quote unquote, Stacey Martin, who is the owner of Content Matters. Such a great conversation, and I will be you. You should be listening until the end because there is so much information that is so pertinent to businesses and how to thrive. But what is your content and are you relevant in your business because of your content? But listen to this podcast because I'm sharing this and I'm so excited. So thank you, Stacey, for being part of the podcast and looking forward for more conversation with you because it's so insightful. So enjoy it, guys. We are with Stacey Martin, who is the brain behind Content Matters. So I have a question for you. Why Content Matters?
Why the name of the business?
The name of a business.
Yeah. Well, it happened pretty organically. I was working with a friend of mine who is in branding and marketing, actually, and I told her I was thinking about going out on my own. And she said, "How about Matter?" And I said, "Matter? Hmm." So we thought about it for a second, and Matter didn't really roll off the tongue. I felt like it needed a lot of explanation. And so content matters, just content matters. And the more we sat with that, and the more folks that heard the name thought, I like it. You're making a statement with the name of your business. Content matters. And it just is like, you're right. Content matters. And what's funny, and I rolled with it. And I was starting the business kind of in a lean mode. Like, I'm just going to go for this. I'm just going to do this. I was kind of given the opportunity to start something on my own. And while I was nervous and unsure, this name just kind of settled. So I just went with it. So over time, it has withstood the test of time. It's been a couple of years. And what's funny is now I have clients who kind of steal the idea. Communication matters. If
Yes.
there's communications and programs in their company or organization, government matters. There's an email that goes out from our chamber that says government matters. So, it kind of works. And now I have it.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing this with us today. Stacey, and I have a question for you because content matters. Yes, it does. And it impacts a lot of companies who don't understand that. Now, how do we deal with outdated content and how can we refresh them? Because a lot of companies, have their website, have their social media, and, you add on it. But at the end of the day, they don't clean up. Most of them do not clean up their content and it's impacting them. So how can they refresh or help themselves to be more efficient when it comes down to content?
Yeah. Well, let's see. There's a lot of different ways to approach this. So I'll think about it in terms of it's kind of the first time they've been in charge of web content. They are part of a large organization. They have thousands of pages on their website, and they're not really sure who created them. Sometimes people work in a place and they create content, but then they leave the business or the organization. And so this content's just kind of floating out there. At Content Matters, we are what we call tool agnostic. So what that means is it almost doesn't matter what web platform you're in. There's techniques you can use and tools you can use to help you see what content's on your website when it was created, when it was published, and when it was last modified. So those are kind of technical terms. So one easy way to do it is to log in. Now, this would be for content managers, content creators. If you go in and you log into your website, you should be able to see a full page of all of that content. You can sort that list by the published date, and you, just like you're searching for something on Amazon, sort by earliest date. And you'll quickly see, oh gosh, something was published, 3 years ago. I probably need to look at this. Now, that's kind of a simple, straightforward way. As you get more experienced or have more access to tools, you can do what we call a content audit. And that's where you actually take the time and figure out how to export that full list of content that's in your website. And you open it in something like Excel. And now you have all the power of Excel and you have all of the details about that data. And you can go back and start to sort and figure out, okay, what if content is more than 5 years, I'm going to automatically put that in my delete bucket. Doesn't mean you have to delete it right away. It just means it's your sorting. So you want to look at this long list of content and you want to think about it in terms of, do I want to keep, do I want to edit it, or do I want to delete it? Just like you're cleaning out your closet, right? You're cleaning out the garage. They tell you to create those 3 buckets. Do I want to keep it? Do I want to donate it, or does it get thrown away? So just by going through that sorting process, you'll make some quick decisions and you'll start to see where you want to prioritize your time. And for that work that's for the bucket that's in that refresh or edit, then you start thinking, okay, well, who's in charge of this content? And depending on the size of your organization, you might need to put a little time into that. If you're a smaller organization, you might know exactly who created that content. But if it's a larger organization, you might need to ask for a little help to figure that out. So auditing your content and looking at the list of pages that you have, images are included, any kind of infographic that you might have also has a published date. So you look at that list and you say, how can I sort this into what I want to keep, what I definitely know needs to be thrown away, and then what needs to be edited? How can we update and refresh that content?
That makes sense. And that probably help companies as well to do not have obsolete data into their website.
Yeah, and there are tools you can use to help you make decisions about your content too. This is as you get more mature in your experience doing this work, or you work for a larger organization or a larger team. If you use your web metrics or Google Analytics, for example, or your web platform comes with those types of insights to see what kind of traffic your web pages are getting, you can quickly zoom into pages that maybe you created a long time ago, but they actually still get a lot of traffic. So don't use age of content to be the only way you decide what needs to be cleaned up. So if you combine when that content was created with how is it performing, actually it gets a lot of traffic. What kind of traffic does it get? Let's look at that. Maybe you have new content and it's getting no traction. There's very little traffic to it. It's underperforming. You might say we need to refresh it. And that also helps to clean up that clutter, because there's a reason that there's got to be some reason people aren't finding that web page. So it kind of leads you into a better understanding of how well your content's performing. And that's a great lens to look at content through. So when we talk about cleanup and auditing, we think old content, but sometimes old content is great content. So you don't want to just make a quick decision.
What is a spring refresh? Can you share with us what is a spring refresh?
We have been working with clients, and we know that springtime is an exciting time, right? The days are getting longer. We've got some new energy, but we also know folks are doing some planning and budgeting, and they may or may not have a lot of time, effort, or resources to take a look at their web content and refresh and clean things up. So we are offering a chance to work with us. We want to come in and boost your team and help you clear out those cobwebs. I imagine many content managers, content creators, probably know exactly of, 5 pages on their website, 50 pages on their website that they like, we need to make a decision. Are we keeping these? Somebody needs to look at these. So with the spring refresh, what we're offering is our services to come in and help you tackle those problem areas. So we would take a quick look and do a spring cleanup. So we do just a quick audit, and actually it depends on the size of your website. Not necessarily quick, but if you're a small business, if you have, maybe 10 to 20 pages on your website, we'll just choose from some of those pages, take a look at those, see what's relevant, see what's outdated, and make recommendations on pages to either keep, edit, or delete. The second service we offer is plain language. We believe in clear communications and will apply plain language strategies to help you simplify maybe some of that complex content that you have out there. And then the third aspect of our refresh bundle is photography. We know images can make a huge impact. Nice, strong, clean, modern, updated images. So this is a chance for us to help you build a bank that you can add to your homepage, or you can add to some of your feature products or services, and just give that website a nice touch for spring. Imagine it's like you've come into your house and you've rearranged the furniture and you've bought some new pillows or vases. I don't know, it's not a good metaphor, but
feng shui. Yeah, you did. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. You're rearranging, you're improving, you're changing. And in those days, in today's era, we're going so fast that truly content matters more than it used to in the past. In the past, you had huge slogan. Everybody remember it takes some 2 minutes, commercial. Right now, everything is really compact to a bare minimum. If we get 30 seconds or 15 seconds, we're lucky. But I believe that more and more website should have really the top of the line content, especially when you're telling your story. So that's what is one of the keys. We talk about content is one of the most powerful and effective way to market your business. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Why content is so great for marketing your business? Well, here's why. It's exactly what I'm doing right here. So people can hear your voice and hear the excitement and hear about what it is that you have to offer. So there's a lot of, it's a busy, everybody's busy. We are bombarded with information all of the time. So you want to find ways to reach and engage who you want to do business with, who you have services that are, who you can help. So when we talk about content for marketing, we talk about all the different channels that you can use. So while you might have a new product that you're launching and you want to market and let everybody know about it, if you write that ad campaign, you have to think about all the different ways that's going to be presented to folks. It can be presented on a website. You can tell them about that new product through an email. You can tell folks about that product on social media. So all of those different channels have different requirements. What kind of media works best? Is it a photo? Is it a video? Is it text? So when you think about marketing and you think about content, you want to think about the variety of ways that you're going to talk to folks and engage them and share with them what it is that you have to offer. And very strong content marketing comes with a plan. What's your strategy? What's your vision? You're not going to knock it out the first time. You want to make sure you're getting it started, and then look and see what's working and what's not working in that. Are you reaching folks that you plan to? Why or why not? What changes can we make? So this is where content becomes really important when it comes to marketing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your insight, because I think a lot of people don't realize that being able to find the right verbiage and the right pictures to target their market makes a huge difference if they do it compared to just pick up something and just throw it and see if it's going to stick.
Yeah.
Which can take a little, it's a hit or miss, and it can take longer for them to reach the right customers.
Yeah.
So.
Marketing strategy is what that is. And content marketing versus content strategy, those terms sometimes get used interchangeably. And to some folks, they mean different things. but certainly both add such great values. And it doesn't matter what things are called, to be honest, right? It's really about what is it that you're trying to do? What's the best way to do it? What is your vision? What's the plan? Who's going to do the work? How are they going to do the work? When are they going to do it? And is what you're doing working?
That's a lot just to deal if you have a small business or even medium size. If you don't have the right people around the table, that's what makes it challenging as well. To be able to deliver this kind of content and really reach people.
Yeah. And this is often why you hear marketing agencies, branding agencies talk about brand identity, because when you have a lot of folks creating content or marketing, and if you don't have a plan, you do not come across to your customer or to your audience as a unified voice. And sometimes that can lead your audience to be confused. They might see a website, but then they might get an email and it looks and sounds completely different because two different people did that work. And so now your audience member, your customer is left a little confused. I'm not sure if this email came from this particular business because it looks and sounds different. And that can lead to problems with, trust. And what you want to do as a business owner is build trust. You want your customers to trust you. So you'll hear a lot of agencies talk about brand voice. We certainly talk about it a lot. So what is your brand? What is it that you stand for? What is it that you want people to know about you? And how does that sound and look through all of your marketing channels? What pictures align with your brand? What is that voice? What's that messaging? What words do you use? What words do you not use? All of this is part of your brand voice, and good content strategies align with that brand voice, so that if you have multiple folks creating content for you because they specialize in social media, or maybe they specialize in web, if everyone understands what that voice looks like, sounds like, examples of that voice when they create, the end result means you have a unified, consistent presence, and your customers and your audience will be more likely to trust. They'll want to engage with you.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Definitely. There is a lot behind content, and it's nice to have somebody like you can guide companies to on the right path, so they don't go astray and don't get something they don't want, but something they really want.
Yeah,
so.
And that's the kind of work we do with with clients, in fact, is to help them build what we call either centers of excellence, or in fact help them brand starting from the top. Who are you? Let's either refresh that or rejuvenate that. Let's help those that are part of the organization understand better, give them the tools and the momentum they need, and really meeting content creators where they are. Because if we're asking them to change, to improve, right? If we're trying to improve, increase our marketing goals, that's going to require content creators to change a little bit what they're doing. And if you're a writer, and really any work that you do, but if you're creative and you're writing and we ask you to write in a different voice, sometimes it takes practice to figure out what that sounds like, what that looks like. So we work with organizations to really help coach those writers and give them the confidence to go for it and try it, do it. And we give confidence to leaders to understand that this is really important work, prioritize this work, and give room and space and recognize those that are creating your marketing materials or your content, that this is the work that they're doing, and look to see the changes in your metrics you use to determine, are you being successful? Because once this team is aligned under a vision and goals, doesn't matter where they sit in the organization, you'll see the impact of that collaboration and coordination.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Well, thank you for those insights, Stacey, because these will help people to grasp how important content actually matters, and how the message they're sending via Like you talk about websites, social media, any form of communication can really make or break a company, actually.
Yeah,
It
the work
does.
we do would be in the industry, we call it content operations. We help leaders understand um, and help them build the teams that are going to do the work. So it's content operations. So there's a content strategy where you have a vision and this is what we are going to do. This is what we look like. These are the channels. This is our audience. But then the operational side of that means I have a group of folks that are going to be doing this work, a team or two. Here are all the resources that they have. And you want to keep cultivating that momentum and collaboration so that everyone who is involved in this work is talking and hearing what that voice sounds like so you come across as one voice. So there's content strategy and then there's content operations where it's really the people, the process, the technologies that you use. And we give our customers, our clients, we work with them to figure out what's the best fit because there are so many tools out there, just a matter of building that toolbox that's going to work for you.
That's wonderful. It's tailored to each client. It's not a one fits all because it never does. And I have seen in the past people trying to make things fit, and it's like you cannot fit a square into a circle, but nice try. Everybody is unique, and you are showcasing the uniqueness of every single of your clients.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. We don't want to put a round peg in a square hole. It is not, there's not one solution that's going to work for everyone, especially if you get to where you are a mature group, you know, content maturity levels very high and everyone's performing quite well. And are you seeing results? So you start to pull in, what does this data look like? What change did we make? Did we see an impact in our data? It's like it's alive and being, and the creatives can thrive the more information and data and feedback they get on what they're creating and how well it's performing. That can help them optimize, right? Improve, be more efficient in what they're doing. And that ultimately leads to, I'm sure, 100% sure, business goals, which are always to work more efficiently, right? Do more with less.
Mm-hmm.
So if you invest in your content operations, those will not only help you meet your audience needs and wants, but also help you meet and exceed your business goals.
Absolutely. It will put you in on the top of your being a leader in your own field, not part of the background. Because one of the biggest issue we've got is, and I talked about it in the past a lot, and I'm sure you have seen a lot, is you don't compare your business with anybody else's. You really have to showcase who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people think that, oh, I have competition. Well, no, you don't. Your only competitor is your own self because you have something unique. It doesn't matter if you're a plumber. It doesn't matter if you're part of the government. It doesn't matter where you are.
Yep.
Your uniqueness is what will attract the right client for you. Mm-hmm. So it makes it hard when you don't show your uniqueness. So this is what you do. You elevate them and really showcase their uniqueness and what they can do for the right clients, because not every clients will come to your business, but the right people, the right clients will come to your business.
Yes. And clients will come at various stages of even understanding what they need. Sometimes I'm not exactly sure what I need, but we need to, we have certain goals we need to meet. So we work with clients and help them even better understand who their audiences are, because the more you know about that target audience, the more you can tailor your messaging, the more you can use language and write and communicate in a clear way that's understandable, because you want to know what do your customers, what do your residents, what do they need? What do they want? And how can I help them complete that task, make their life easier? It's all about ease. How can I make this experience easy? Is it through simple language? Is it through a diagram that explains? How can I help? Is it using the right colors? A very important thing to keep in mind is making information accessible. So
Mhm.
sometimes you can have really great intentions and your content is in colors that don't project very well. The font's very small. Your web platform doesn't allow for screen readers. Maybe you have pictures of people and your audience member doesn't really connect. It doesn't look like them. All of these things can really impact somebody's experience. And so when we work with clients, we spend time to get to know their business and then get to know who is their audience, and let's talk about them. Let's really dig in and better understand, because all of that can be used to inform, what does my website look like? What messaging am I using? What pictures should we have? The more you understand up front, and build that vision, um, the better, the easier it will be for you to meet your own goals, I guess.
Yes, exactly. I think that that's one of the biggest issue that some people don't realize when they have a website, because I heard it in the past that some people basically decided to go directly to through social media because their website had no traffic. And it's like, well, if your website has no traffic, then that's mean there is a problem in your website, because it's not bringing you the client you need. It's basically at a flat line. Then you need to look at your website. It's not it's not anything else than your website. It's the issue is your website itself. It's the content, it's the pictures, it's the messaging in there that doesn't resonate with people. Or even we can talk about SEO very quickly. If the right word is not in there, then people are searching for something specific, but you are providing that service, but the wording is not in there. How can we find you?
Yeah.
That's the key.
SEO, search engine optimization, that's like an industry all in of its own, because it's so important. And the way that search algorithms work just continues to change as well. So if you pay attention to exactly what you said, the keywords, what word, how do you talk about work? But then how would your audience talk about that?
Yes.
We see this a lot with clients, where I saw this a lot, for example, in health insurance. When folks were communicating, they were using what I'd say were industry terms. There are things like, even things like deductible. There are some words out there that no one really understands what they mean. And if you keep using that word over and over again, folks aren't going to understand. They're not going to find that information. But through SEO, there are tools out there where you can go and do some research and figure out what are all the different ways that folks might talk about a certain topic. Different phrases even. Some of the search engine optimization isn't just about one keyword, it's about a phrase, or it's about a question. How do I? And that is a great reminder that when you are creating that content, thinking about your audience, if you've done some upfront work to better understand who they are, what channels they're on, what is their environment like, that can all be used to inform what are those keywords. And just like content that needs regular supervision, maintenance, management, in particular, if you are working in a large organization where you have a lot of different people creating content, you'll get different variations. You could get misspellings. All of that can impact what that final search result and performance is. So search engine optimization is a very important aspect of marketing.
I like you talk about languages and understanding, because we use words, but sometimes you have to ask, and I do that with people, or people are doing it with me as well, to understand, what do I mean by using some specific words? Because sometimes we talk, but we have a different perspective on the words we're using compared to others. And I like the fact you highlighted that you have to be cautious when you're using your words, especially when you're doing content, because some people will, like in the health industries, when they're using the health verbiage, it's not what we need. We need to talk to us with different words, because those standards is not what everybody speak at home about those words. And that can really impact the business. So I like the fact that you highlighted that, because quite often miscommunication, and that happens. Actually, we've seen in the past big companies who got backlash from people because they were putting things out there that they thought would, be great as core messaging, advertising post, and it backfired to them because they were, quote unquote, I'm going to use the word out of touch, compared to the masses, meaning to the regular people. So sometimes it's nice to really look at what words am I using to communicate.
Yeah. And it's not, as a writer, or if you're on the marketing team, it's not something to do in a silo. You can't necessarily figure this out or predict an outcome on your own. It requires research, feedback, testing. If you're putting together a campaign or have some new messaging, always run it by others on your team, or if you're in a large organization, maybe a structured focus group where you can test and get reactions from folks. You don't need hundreds and thousands of people involved. There's lean ways to do this. But the sense of accessible, making sure information is accessible to all, and what does that mean to your audience? What are those words? What are the languages? You mentioned language. It's not just language and words we choose, but if someone does not speak English as a first language, are there options for them to have a Spanish translation? I mean, there are 50 many languages out there, and a lot of good tools will help you navigate that. Good firms that can help you do that translation. Because if something is not understood, people are just going to go right on by. They're not going to pay attention. They're just going to scan it and move on, and they're not going to understand. They're not going to follow that call to action. They're not really going to engage with you. So it really is important to take the time to understand your audience and what's going to resonate with them. And sometimes you will get it wrong. You can change. It can be changed.
Oh yeah. But it's a trial run too, because I believe when you're putting content out, you might know your audience, but audience are changing, tastes are changing. Everything goes so fast that companies have to adapt to stay in a race, quote unquote, to stay relevant. It's not even a race, it's to staying relevant. Yeah. But if your content is not there, how, I know some business owners who probably are maybe the old ways. They don't want to change, and it's very difficult for them to do it, and they want to keep the old ways. And it's like, well, in life we're living, it's nice, the old ways. I love the old ways, but the problem is we are not in the old ways. The old ways are behind us. We need to make sure, even though you maybe run your business a certain way, that your content stay relevant. It doesn't, I don't know, maybe you're going to give me your feedback on that. It doesn't have to go all crazy and shocking, but I believe that you can do, and that's what your company does, provide a good message without being over the top.
Yeah. I got great advice when I was kind of young in my career, and it was a good website always changes. It's always touching your online presence, however and whatever tools you use to keep evolving. You're right. And it is hard sometimes to get, there's a sense of change. Websites get redesigned, and organizations, employees, more than customers, sometimes get a little frustrated because they can't find what they used to be able to find where they found it. So change can be hard. And this goes back to kind of content strategy and the value of having a vision and having a team dedicated to this work in terms of content, building a content operation and building that content team who is mindful and aware of all of these. I feel the more that either business leaders know or understand about the value and impact of making these changes, I think it makes for a smoother transition, certainly for those larger organizations. But a good website always changes. It's always evolving. And this is where user experience and user design come into play. A good, well-designed website needs no explanation, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like you said, we have to change. We updating the website now. I could be ashamed on myself too because I did not update some of my website. Shame on me, Emma.
No.
But I'm
Well,
thinking as you were talking, I'm like, yes, I'm not. I have made some changes, but it doesn't have to be a 360. However, you made a good point with user experience because it is relevant for people to find things very quickly.
mhm.
And a lot of people make their website cumbersome to the point that it's like, I call it going to Fort Knox and put gold in Fort Knox. And it's
Right.
like, it's not what we do. We
Yeah.
have to make it easier for people. So do you look at the user experience as well when you look at the website? And what do you do? Or what do you say to
Absolutely.
clients?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we do look at the user experience. We look at that as part of, our audit and analysis when we first work with a client. It is common for an organization's website to have content on it that was put there by someone for their own personal need. It's almost like their intraweb or things we think our team needs to know about. We say it's for our customer, but there hasn't been a lot of work in terms of understanding who that customer is. So one of the favorite aspects, one of my favorite aspects of doing this work is seeing and watching clients shift their understanding, right? It's all about how we frame the value of your content. It is not for you, employee, to kind of have your own personal experience of information that you're responsible for. Let's talk about who's on the other end looking. And this might be the first time they've ever seen this information. It might be something they don't understand. It might be, presented in a way where there's too much. They can't scan it. They can't figure out what am I supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's written with complicated language. So taking the time to help those that create the content better understand who's on that other side. And a lot of times, if you're a content creator, you immediately paint a picture of a customer that's just like you.
Mm-hmm.
Your customers are not like you.
Yeah.
Right? They are not you, and they're not your
Yeah.
mom or your dad or your brother or
Yeah.
your cousin or your next door neighbor.
Mhm.
Maybe they're your next door neighbor. So how can we help, how can we help our clients kind of flip their perspectives? Because then you say, stormwater management. I know what that is. Do you know what that is? Well, unlikely not. So how can we lead as a content first agency, right? We believe in what's that message? What are we trying to communicate? How are we helping? How are we making it easy? What's the journey? What does someone need to understand? And what's their next step? We want to figure out what that looks like. Your question was really about UX, UI, user experience and user interface. We absolutely look at that 100% because they are intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
And having worked with many designers, there's a couple ways to approach it. Content first. What's the writing? And then we'll design with that in mind. Sometimes designers, they have a proven feature or functionality that works. And then they say, well, we have to edit the content to fit a specific functionality, right? To improve this user experience. And that's okay. It's kind of a back and forth. And that's where you shape something into being really meaningful and really great. So we are content first when it comes to user experience. That being said, when there's great functionality and a great experience, we can adapt the content to fit those requirements.
So the challenge comes if it's not as user friendly. How do you approach the situation if you're looking and auditing a website and it is just not that easy to navigate and not, for the not intuitive enough for the users to, they give up after 5 minutes. It's like, I'm not going to go there because forget it. I cannot find what I need. So how do you approach that with a client and make them understand how critical, because a lot of people don't understand it became for the past few years user experience. But I don't think everybody understands what a user experience is. What is that journey for them to be able to, from the time they find you on the web to the time they're going to basically convert into a client, that journey. I don't know, maybe I need your perspective on that, but I don't think everybody and every client understand that. I don't think everybody does.
Yeah, exactly. It is. I think there's different ways that we meet our clients with what information they need to make the best informed strategy moving forward. And sometimes that requires taking a deep dive on a user journey. Let's talk about who they are, what do they need, and let's take the time and map out different scenarios of how users, why they come to your website, what do they need, and where do they go after. So having a journey and having that understanding is key before starting to move things around on a website, right? We can do personas where we talk about the individuals and you move into user journeys. Data works well too. You can look at your web metrics or any statistics you have there to metrics, sorry, not statistics, but metrics to better understand what content's performing and what's not. Because if a leader, sees that here's our website and they're only going to one page and not the others, there's reason to change. We also do focus sessions or interviews. When you get a quote from someone, a member of your target audience, a customer, a resident, when you hear from them what their pain points are, that is very powerful. If your customer, if your resident, if your audience isn't happy, a leader will say, we need to change. What do we change? How do we change? And then that's where that content strategy piece comes in. Let's talk about your brand. Who are you? What's your brand voice? What are the goals? And then we look at that website. We are sure all the other channels need some auditing too, but we would go through and look at the performance, or what we call content effectiveness. How well is this content working? And there's different lenses to look at that through. You can see of pages. You can call it a qualitative look, where you're just literally looking at the page. You look at a page that performs poorly, and then find an example of what performs well. And just by visually looking and comparing, folks intuitively can say, I have no white space. I have long blocks of text. I have very small font. You can quickly see qualitatively what's wrong. But we can also look at data, and that's that quantitative analysis where we look at your web metrics and see, here, this content's not performing.
Now, we're going to continue to talk with you, Stacey, in regards of social media. So what is the impact when you're looking at content matters? We talked about the website, but how is social media can be as well an impact on your business?
Yeah. Well, social media, it's like the bullhorn of your messaging and of your business, right? It is what takes who you are as a business and just blasts it out there. So when we work with clients, we'll tend to be working with clients who need some kind of improvement in terms of their content production, right? We are inconsistent out there. Our social media doesn't sound or look like what we do online. We need some help aligning and refreshing and improving. We're not seeing results we want to see. So social media can have a strategy in and of itself. I think that the amount of work that it requires to have successful social media is can be substantial depending on the size of your organization. So social media does have a huge impact on your success of your business. When it comes to content strategy, and when we evaluate, we look at those channels. We can look at that data if it's available. What we tend to focus on is your brand identity and your brand voice, and then make recommendations on how that can extend to your social media, so that if you are making change with your web presence or refreshing your brand, that reaches that social media channel, so everyone is in alignment. Because the your brand, your performance as a company can fracture if your social media is not aligned with what's happening with other aspects of your online business. Social media is very important. There are a lot of different channels, and it's knowing where you want to prioritize your efforts. And depending on the size of the organization, again, it depends on the size of the team. Maybe you have a one-man social media who tackles all the challenges, or maybe you have two or three. The other point I'll say about social media is that I see social media really as where you talk to your audience, your community.
Mhm.
You can talk to them one-on-one. One of the most clever uses of Twitter, I remember Twitter was new. Delta, the airline, used Twitter for customer service. So they had customers asking questions and they were able to provide an immediate response. A bit different of a use case than you see Twitter or X now. I think there's some very clever ways. You see social media where folks review products or an experience they
Mhm.
have. And if you are talking to your customer there, you can continue to build their trust because it is a one-on-one, it's casual, it's structured in a different way that your website is. So it is very much a very important aspect of building your brand and being a strong presence online.
So not every social media will be used by companies. So they will be targeting some few of them, not all of them, if I understand that. Otherwise, you're spending your life in social media and not much in your website or even doing your own
Right.
job. You end up in a party town and never get out of party town, because this is party town. We call it those kind of Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. It's party town. And pretty much your website is your funnel for your clients, actually. So, but it's nice the way they're doing, and I'm looking at TikTok very in a very interesting way, because now you can see people who actually work in their business and have TikTok, so people can see them live, which is very interesting, and they do interact with the people live. But it's very interesting the way it's turning, and it's helping some of the businesses. Like you said, the one who review product, there is some of them that I do see once in a while on the feed. Very interesting, actually. They do their review and give, makeup, clothes, anything they got. But it's very interesting when they do the review as well, because it feels more authentic as well when you're looking at them than somebody who has a perfect figure, which is nice. Not a problem with a perfect figure, but not everybody is in the same shape and size. So it's nice to see different people trying different things and giving feedback based on who they are. So that's very, very informative.
Yeah, there's two things you said there. Being authentic is a very important aspect of engagement, being real, being true, authentic, right? Natural hair.
I like natural hair.
Yeah, I like natural hair, for example. And then the other aspect of that, when you talked about different channels and not using all the channels, I mean, when I think about content matters, I think about my own personal use of social media and selective use and how it's changed over time. And I remember when Facebook kind of first came on, and the organization I was working with wanted to have a Facebook presence. And I thought, but that's where I connect with my sisters and my friends from other places, because that was how I was using that. And I kind of shirked and said, I'm not sure about that. But now you see the advertising there, whether you like it or not. But baked into our company's name, Content Matters, it's not a matter of just blasting. It's being intentional.
Yes.
And just like you said, TikTok, there's some new creative ways folks are using it. That's cool. I totally embrace it. But just to check it off the list and just putting stuff out, that just clutters the everything for everybody. And nobody wins in that scenario.
No, it doesn't. And you have to be, like you said, you have to be strategic. But I like the authentic side of it too, because it's nice to have, very fluffy, cute website. But if it doesn't translate who you are, I think your authenticity will get lost and people will realize very quickly your content doesn't matter at that point because it's not who you are.
Yeah.
So it's very essential to have somebody like you and your company to be able to guide those companies to be successful. And not everybody is a good writer. Hello, people.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that makes a difference too.
Yeah, it's about connection, right? You want to connect, you want to build trust. And we say audience because it's more than one person on the other side of the screen that you're seeing and talking to. I imagine audience, I think of like a stand-up comic who's on stage and they're speaking and they get a lot of excitement because they're interacting with that audience. They get a response from the audience. They get it in silence, or they get it in applause, or they get it in noise conversation. When you are in a digital environment, we don't hear that little literal applause. We look at it in the number of thumbs up you got, right? The quiet, silent applause. So having that audience and feeling like you're either being heard and or on the other side, they are being heard, finding a way to get that bit of back and forth. And those social media channels are powerful for that because they can be real time, they can be live, they are unfiltered. And if you are are too polished in those areas, it depends on your brand. Chanel is very polished.
It has to be
And that's
polished.
their brand. Yeah.
Yes, it's high
It
end.
just depends on who and why. And our talk, we work with organizations that have hundreds of communicators, hundreds. And not all of them come out with a communications degree or have the 10 years of experience. They might not realize that they have to write those emails to either members or residents or the audience. So how can we help give these folks the tools and the support and help build the momentum to get them sometimes over a little bit of a hump to say, go for it. You can do it. We'll help you. We'll review it. Here's some suggestions. Here's a template. Because you're right. And even those that are trained communicators and trained writers, put them in the same room with others because they're, just because they have that experience doesn't necessarily mean they are writing the most effective content either,
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. It's being able to relate to one another. And I think all of those writers should meet their audience so they understand actually who they are, because it's easy to be removed from the other side. And you said something earlier that I so agree with, because I've done it many times and I like to put my shoes with the end users, with the audience. When you are on the technical side of it, you just do what feels right. But sometimes what you think is right doesn't work with your audience. You have to be able to put your shoes into the audience. I am new, I am fresh, I come from the street, off the street, I have to do this. How can I do this? How can I be able to navigate that website? How can I be able to recognize those words and those content and really feel that I'm targeting the right audience? And that's what people are forgetting, especially when you talk about business owners, big companies. They lose track of their audience, and they have to be, sales are working, good for you, but you come to a point that your sales are going to decline because you're not reaching with your content your audience anymore. You're out of touch, and you can be out of touch very quickly, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I'm loving the metaphor of the stand-up comedian. I think it's going to work really well, because if you are starting out, either in your role with an organization or you're a small business and you're starting out, it's like going to the small open mic nights, right? You're up there and you're throwing out some jokes and you get booed off the stage. I am sure many comics have that. So I was booed off the stage, and then I had to go and do it the next night in the next town, and I wasn't booed there, but then I kept going. So they have these small little incubators and smaller spaces where they can test what's going to work. Is it funny if I walk back and forth? Is it funny if I walk out in the audience? What aspect of my performance is really engaging the audience, and how does that work for me? It's the same with content. Small incubators, you can test things live online. You can test them
Mm-hmm.
with people and then figure out what works and keep going with that and using your, all your data insights to inform it. But if being a large organization, it's harder, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
bigger machine. I've worked in
Yeah.
organizations and with organizations where we say we move like glaciers. There are 10 levels of discussion
Mm-hmm.
that have to happen to make some kind of change. And there are a lot of organizations that are modernizing their operations. And again, that's kind of where we like to come in because content as an operation is often under the umbrella of marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
So really understanding how do we move this machine? How do we bring everybody in all these different departments and areas of the company and bring them together to
Mm-hmm.
move all in the same direction? Vision becomes very important. And there are marketing goals and there's advertising goals, there's product goals, but what about that content vision, like what we're actually talking to, how we're actually talking to our audience, how we're designing that, is that really working? So I like the stand-up comic. I think that works pretty well because you can think of, if you think about old organizations, think about some older comedians
Yes.
who had a misstep.
Yeah. Oh, they do.
And where are they now? Some can
Yeah.
recover,
And
right?
some don't, or some
And
have
some
tried
don't.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
As
are they saying on stage? Are they connecting? Are they delivering expectations? Do they have the audience's trust?
Yes, exactly. So that's what it's the key. And I think I'm glad we're talking because people don't realize how much content can damage their companies or make them go 10 steps backwards instead of moving forward, or they go sideways or they go upside down instead than be on the right path. And a lot of people don't have that understanding. And like you said, everything falls most of the time under the marketing umbrella. But even if you have a degree, I feel that experience will surpass, for me, in my view and past experience of working with different individuals, somebody who doesn't have a degree but have the experience and the knowledge can do a better job than somebody fresh out of university and school. And it's not to target people, but you need to have the experience. You can, going to school, they give you your toolbox. You get your little toolbox, you run and you think, I'm going to take my first job, I'm going to change the world, I'm going to do this, and that. The
Yeah.
reality is going to hit you very quickly when you realize that those are only tools that you need to use when you're at work, because you got a bigger, like you said, bigger organization, or you have a different vision and you have to follow that vision. So your tools are there to support you, but they are not like you're gonna I'm gonna ask for your feedback on that, but they are not there to fix everything. Actually, they are to support you, but they are not the fixer.
Right. Oh, yes, tools. I was gonna say there's a topic we haven't covered yet, and it's kind of the hidden cost of having too much outdated content, and that's
Mm-hmm.
is technology, right? There's
Yeah.
technology. There are tools out there, there's platforms out there, but everything has to be stored on a hard drive or in the cloud, and somebody has to take care of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're not managing your content, you have too much, it costs money there. And then the tools. A lot of folks are quick adopt, oh, shiny, flashy new tool.
Yep.
I
Yep.
need to have it.
Yep.
Now, an organization needs to support that tool and make sure it's
Mm-hmm.
security, passes security clearance, right? All those issues that a large
Mm-hmm.
organization can have. If you're a smaller organization, you might have more flexibility in how fast you can adopt new tools, but caution, right? You want to find something that's going to stand a little test of time so you can get good at using it. I'm actually in school was a scientist, so we talked about getting a degree and your set of tools. My set of tools was working in a microbiology lab. Very far cry from where I am now. But what
Yes.
brought me to visual communication was GIS, Geographic Information Systems. I very much wanted to design maps and use maps to inform public health decisions. That's kind of where I ended up. And that's where I learned design, color theory, user experience, because everything was online, digital mapping. And I talk about this now because the tool that we learned to use was GIS. And my professor at the time was like, it's just a tool. It's not going to solve the problems.
Yep.
It's not going to solve our
Mhm.
where we need more highways. It's not going to
Mhm.
solve disease because we
Mhm.
can now use this tool. And
Mhm.
as a strategist, brand and content strategist, new tools like AI, right? We haven't talked about this big elephant in the room much yet,
Not yet.
but artificial intelligence. And
Yep.
uh, to me, it's another tool. And as a
Mhm.
content leader, feel excited about its potential, cautious about it as risk,
Mhm.
really want to be informed about the products and tools that are, the different groups that are making this tool and what the benefits are. So I use multiple ones. And especially in any tool you use, not necessarily always, we don't want to give away secret sauces, but when it comes to AI, being transparent when it is being used, because I certainly appreciate that some of the tools out there scab information and don't really give the credit. And we don't want to, especially as a content person, be seen as that plagiarizing or stealing ideas. We can certainly talk more about AI, but when it comes to tools, it's great to have a toolbox, but that's what they are. They're tools. And the metaphor we can go back to is, it's like a project management metaphor is building a house. You can have multiple tools in that toolbox. That hammer isn't going to build the house itself. You need a saw, right? But what kind of saw? You need different tools to actually deliver on this work. So one tool is certainly not going to solve all the problems.
No, and I like the statement you made about the shiny object too, because people are too quick to jump from one software or one application to another, like there is no tomorrow for the hot potatoes. But you have to look at the cost and the time it takes, because when you implement new tools, you need to understand that the version you've got by the time you're done will need to be upgraded to the latest version of it. But it might be obsolete at the end of the day, who knows? But sometimes this is maybe the best and the safer one to have, the most stable one to have, instead of jumping to another one and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. I will say, yeah, not very be mindful at that level. Instead, then learning and exploring what the capabilities of the tools you've got can do. Because sometimes you don't have to change the tools. You just have to learn more about what the capability of the tools you
Yes.
have already.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm in that exact scenario with a client. And while I come in on content messaging words,
Mm-hmm.
my recommendation was align and get to, work with your technology officer, your CTO,
Yeah.
because a lot of organizations have a governance plan, they have
Mm-hmm.
requirements. So while you might be excited about the pictures and the words you're using, it is about those tools. So making sure you're each a champion for each other and able to build a sustainable ecosystem for your content so that you are taking time, reviewing the diligence of understanding the features and pros and cons of these this is enterprise-wide solutions that are out there, and building what they call tech stacks. What's your content tech stack? What is that hardware? What are those enterprise systems? What are you using? What tools are you adopting? And in fact, we also talk about with our clients, how are you going to maintain growth with that particular tool? You just said it. You have a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody thinks, let's just get a new tool and we'll figure that out. When really that current tool really offers a lot of features. It continues to grow itself.
Yeah.
World of
Yes.
IT is agile, fail fast, launch early,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's look at Apple as a premier brand. What iPhone are we up to? 15?
Yes.
We just went 10, 11, 12, 30. Every year they've launched
Yes.
something brand new.
Yes.
Yeah. So technology goes fast and you want to be aware. You don't have to know all the details, but partner with your technology leads in your organization and have those conversations. If you're building the content or the communication system for your organization, that technology and the tools you use, you want to be sustainable. You want to think kind of long term.
Exactly, and most people don't. That's the problem. Like you said, when they see a shiny object, they want it, they want it. It's like not every shiny object match what your company is all about. And I think if people were looking more at what they have as tools and they're utilizing and get the opportunity, because it takes money to maintain tools, no matter what. People, they want to cut down on technology. The first thing they do when they want to cut down on something, they always hit IT first. For some unknown reason, it's always IT.
I
Well,
know.
they need to understand when you have software, this is not a money making. This is something that will be an expense for the rest of your life. As long as you get a business, it's always going to be like that no matter what. But those tools help you and be part of the foundation of your company, because if you don't have a stable environment for a website or people cannot connect with you, then you got no business or little business.
Yeah.
So that is a big key. Now you touch point with AI, and we have not spoken about AI and the evolution of AI, because for the past several years, AI is becoming in the forefront, and people are assuming now they're all going to lose their job. Their whole AI is going to replace everything, which is not true in my view. But I would like your perspective on AI from your
Yeah.
content matters and what you're seeing.
Yeah. Well, different ways to look at it. As a content creator, AI has offered a couple of benefits. One is idea generation. If you are writing something and need some ideas, it's a great place to go and ask a question. It's almost like a personalized Google search. Rather than giving you a return of 10 web pages to look like, it actually tells you what's on those websites for you. So it can speed up that time. One way I'm using a tool is actually to help build consistency and content teams, where the AI model takes your brand style guide or any decisions you've made, your writing rules, and as you write and use the platform, it edits what you've written to align with what your brand voice is. So this kind of goes back full circle to what we were talking about earlier. What words you use or don't use.
Yep.
Do we call them residents, not citizens? We say this, not that. It looks at capitalization. Do you use sentence case or title? It looks at some of these very specific writing rules. So it can help build consistency in what your distributed content team can create. And that is generative AI. Another great way it adds value, it depends on the tool, is it helps, you can build templates so that your content team can go in and pick the news release template and put in the information so that what the result is consistent. So almost anybody that writes the news release the output will be consistent. It won't look different depending on who's writing it. Those are three very big high impact ways I think AI can be used, and with the clients that we work with, large organizations, distributed content creation teams across many, many channels. As an individual, there are different tools out there as well. I think it's important, as I said, to have and understand what your own AI policy is, when you use it, when you don't use it, why you use it, if you used it, if you created a piece generated by AI. Being transparent about that builds trust, because we're going to be in this place where you can usually spot if something's created by AI or not if you are online a lot. Sometimes you can't. So being transparent there is important. So those are the use cases for AI I think are great. When it comes to roles, I can appreciate folks being afraid, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think roles are going to evolve, and you might be a great hire because you have experience with you're a great AI prompt. You have great AI prompts. Or there could be specialist roles created. I've seen organizations use AI for their RFP creation and or RFP review process. A lot of large organizations are coming out and talking about, trying to think of the one, how they use it to better understand their KPIs, their web metrics.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of power. Even outside of marketing, I hear AI being used in medical scenarios where the medical team uses AI to try to put together a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Roles around content review are going to be even more critical because you have to look at content and figure out or review for accuracy, clarity, relevance, resources. That content review is going to be very important. So if you are in the content, if you have a role that touches on any content, being aware and understand, you don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to love it, but knowing about it, understanding it, respecting it, is critical.
It is, and AI is another tool to support what we are doing. So as we are changing and evolving and moving forward into transformation, because we're transforming every day, including our businesses, I think it's essential I know changes are scary, but we don't have to shun it. We don't have to be afraid of it. Don't have to go and give it a big hug either, but we can see where this could play a role into the business.
Test it. I would say test the tool, challenge it. If you write environmental reports, ask the AI, program to write one for you and see what it gets. And then you could quickly say, well, but some tools that are really great out there, you get to inform the algorithm. It's not just pulling from Google. You can actually direct it to look at materials you have created so that it aligns with what you've instructed it to. There are big tools like ChatGPT. They're just very broad, so broad. But as an organization, there are programs, and really AI is baked into everything. It's in your email. It's in your Microsoft Office PowerPoint. It's everywhere.
You start to write, even you write a blog or anything, you start to write for you, and you're like, no, that's not what I want to say in that sentence, but thank you very much, and you continue to write. So it's like it's trying to help you, and it's like, okay, that's sweet, that's nice.
And they're just immature. They just, it's a research model. It looks at it's a language model. It looks at how things are said, right? That data. So it's very young. It's just young. It's gotta have time to grow.
Oh, it will grow, but I don't think it will remove everybody's jobs. And I think it's what some of the people are worried about because, oh my God. So there is functionality within some jobs are going to change. And like you said, there's always an evolution in work. And a lot of people I always say they're clinging to their desk, to their desk because they're worried. And I'm like, no, see your job as you want to automate it the much that you can on your job. And the rest so you can do other things. You evolve. You don't have to be stuck. And I've been doing this for 20 years and that's the only thing I want to do. Okay. But if you just release this, you could do more here and you can challenge your brain on doing different things.
Absolutely.
So, but that was a lovely conversation we had with you today, Stacey. I love it. So again, can you remind us where we can connect with you?
Yes, you can find Content Matters online at your-content-matters.com. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and soon to be YouTube. So please reach out, and LinkedIn. Please reach out and find us there. Your Content Matters, and our hashtag is Your Content Matters NC. We are in North Carolina.
Yeah. And also, for anyone who would inquiry about the spring refresh bundle, you can connect online directly via the website or any social media, actually, DM directly, and Stacey and her team will be more than happy to connect with you for a consultation. But you should be looking into that because this will help your company and your business to really see if you're on the right track or not. And if you're not, then they can help you to really target your audience and put you at the space, which will be number one. That's part of the background, but at the forefront so people can find you easily because that's the key.
That's right. Great. Well, thank you. This is great.
Thank you. Yes. Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Universe podcast.